When you think about businesses like Allbirds or Skims that are selling through the roof, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But what's often overlooked is the business behind the business that makes it all possible. For millions of businesses, that's Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. With Shop Pay, you can boost conversions by up to 50%, meaning fewer abandoned carts and way more sales. Whether your customers are scrolling online, strolling through your store, or browsing social media, Shopify ensures you're ready to sell wherever they are. It's no secret, businesses that want to grow with Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/DAX, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/DAX to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/DAX.
This is a Fatal 4 podcast.
Forward gamers, prepare to shuffle those feet from side to side. It's time for Squared Circle Strafe, the premier video game podcast of the Fatal 4 podcasting network. I am your host, Pro Wrestling Noah, aka Noah Stewart, and it's time to talk about video games. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the show. Hope you're having a good start to your week. Hope you had a great weekend. So people who listen to the Didn't Get All of It podcast will know this this trope of mine that whatever my plans are, it's either that I'm going to the zoo or I'm going to a 3-year-old's birthday party. And this weekend was the latter. I went to a 3-year-old's birthday party. I'm in that stage of life. I feel like in my 20s, I was constantly going to weddings. And now that I'm in my 30s, all the people who were getting married are now having babies. So I'm going to young children's birthday parties constantly. So went to a 3-year-old's birthday party. It was cute. He got a bunch of toy cars. And I shook a baby's hand. Different child, different baby. Interesting hair. But such is life. Such is life in the 30s. Also, if you listen to the Didn't Get All of It podcast, you'll know that this past weekend was the Royal Rumble, and I had a group of friends over, had some Korean chicken wings and libations, and we had a good time watching the Rumble. So if you want to hear more about that, you can listen to Didn't Get All of It and hear all the Fatal 4's thoughts on that. But that's wrestling. You're here for video games, which also, if you like both of those things, which if you're listening to this podcast, that's probably the case, you can stay tuned for the third section of this podcast that's right, folks, the gang's all here. We have special guests, the Fatal 4, coming in to run down the details of WWE 2K25. So if you're looking forward to that, stay tuned and we will fill you in on that. But before that, why don't we get to the news of the week? Decent amount of stuff happened this week. Let's start off with some lighter fare. Looks like Sega has renewed its trademark for Skies of Arcadia. All of this news brought to you by Video Games Chronicle, by the way. The Skies of Arcadia, which is a Sega JRPG originally released on the Dreamcast, is a turn-based JRPG where you play a bunch of sky pirates, cult classic, dedicated fan base. Hasn't seen a re-release since the port to the GameCube, Skies of Arcadia Legends, I believe it was. Correct me if I'm wrong. But so that's exciting. We don't know particularly if this means that they're working on something new. It could just be something legal. They want to hold on to the trademark. It could be that they're making some merch, perhaps. Maybe the characters will show up as a cameo in another game. Who can say? Fans of Skies of Arcadia should, keep their ears peeled, eyes peeled. Keep whatever you use to take in sensory information peeled. Be on the lookout for this Skies of Arcadia stuff, because Sega has been seemingly very interested in bringing back older IP, which it feels like a lot of the legacy big Japanese publishers are into that lately, which I'm very excited for. Capcom is doing a lot of that lately as well. But if you don't remember, Sega last year announced that like big initiative on like making new entries in a bunch of old IP like Jet Set Radio, Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, Shinobi. So maybe this could be lumped in with some of that. I don't know. We could see. Again, keep your eyes and ears peeled. All right, let's move into some not so much fun fare, some career job, publisher trouble stuff, kind of across a bunch of different companies lately. Again, Ubisoft does it again, folks. They're in trouble. Ubisoft has confirmed plans to lay off 185 employees in Europe as a result of wider restructuring efforts, including closing the former studio that made DJ Hero. And this seems like obviously they're a lot of games they put out this past year didn't hit like they were expecting. And I think they're like, starting to kind of relocate a bunch of people to working on Assassin's Creed. Cause boy, it's really feeling more and more like if Assassin's Creed Shadows doesn't hit, they're in big trouble. So, oh man. So hopefully, hearts out to the people that lost their jobs. And we'll see what happens with Ubisoft. Crossing fingers. And then speaking of big publishers that are in some trouble, Dragon Age studio BioWare has reportedly halved in size, with staff surprised by EA's relocations. So Dragon Age the Veilguard came out and did not hit. It got like, it made around 1.5 million players engaged during its first 2 months, which apparently was nearly half of EA's expectations for that game. And this is also following an underperformance of their EA Sports FC 25 soccer game. Apparently people don't want to buy as many packs of cards with soccer players on them as much lately. But so this has resulted in the studio kind of sizing down, and not necessarily people getting laid off, but people getting relocated to other parts of like EA's, like, other games, other projects, including the new Skate game and Iron Man. Since the Mass Effect game that BioWare is working on is still technically in pre-production. So they do not need a 200 strong staff to work on that game. So they reduced it to under 100. And they had said that that move was temporary, that they would move them there until it was time for the studio to really go into production and start working on the game in a more fabricated way. But they also have just recently announced that those relocations are now permanent. So that is the people that were moved, that is now their job. And if they want to go back to BioWare, they have to look for job openings, which is brutal. I feel that it's nice that they get to have a job, that they didn't technically get fired or let go, but that's gotta be just so hard on morale. Like, because the people who work on at BioWare, I'm sure, really cared about what they were working on, like working on projects that they were like really invested in with like, their own IP, and now being moved to, other projects and stuff that, isn't necessarily their wheelhouse. That's got to just be a big blow to, energy and morale. So hopefully some of those people can make it back once BioWare goes into full production on Mass Effect. But again, this is, feeling kind of similar to Ubisoft, where if this next Mass Effect doesn't hit, then BioWare might go away. I don't know. We'll see. It's really troubling times. It's like more and more it's feeling like these big AAA, quadruple A, or however you want to say it, publishers and developers are just putting all of their eggs into one basket. And if the game doesn't hit like they were expecting it to, because they're, I feel like a lot of the people wearing suits in those companies are thinking that it's so big, this game, it's too big to miss. But then it ends up missing because we're in a place right now where people are just like, it's not just the, single player games that people are devoting their time to. It's a lot of games as service, like Fortnite. Like really, like people, like you are not just competing with competition, or with what people are deciding to spend their money on. You're competing with what people are deciding to spend their time on now. So it's complicated. It's hard, but these companies have to, like, in my opinion, like try to scale down somehow, like make either smaller games or maybe not care as much about fidelity, and like spread that budget out to other like smaller titles and hope that, a handful of them hit, and the ones that miss, that isn't going to sink the ship, But right now, like both, Ubisoft is like their last hope is Assassin's Creed, and BioWare's last hope is Mass Effect. So we will see what comes with that. Speaking of like things coming to an end, I guess, Multiverses, the WB crossover platform fighter, essentially Super Smash Brothers, but with Batman and Bugs Bunny and Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. The 5th season of that game will be its last, with the game being delisted at the end of May. The game will be playable offline for the foreseeable future, Warner Brothers Games says. And yeah, this is, I can't say I'm surprised. This game came out, when did this game come out? Like 2021, I think. And like it had kind of a big splash, but like a lot of the like diehard platform fighter people were not like in love with the way it controlled, and it wasn't, the player base kind of died off a little bit. So they decided to take the game offline, work on it for like a year and a half, and then they re-released it with some new characters and like a restructuring of the like, in-game economy. But apparently that wasn't enough to like the changes they made was not enough to like really reestablish that player base. So it was a big gamble, and unfortunately it didn't pay off because the game is coming to an end. But at the very least, people can still enjoy the game offline, and with all the stuff they earned and, purchased content moving forward. And then one more story of someone losing a job, which is in one hand kind of like some comic justice, but then the other hand, a lot of other people losing jobs willingly, but due to a action of stupidity. Get ready for this headline. God is a Geek staff quits following ex-priest owner's Nazi salute. This news is actually coming from independent publication Aftermath, which if you're not reading Aftermath, go check out aftermath.site. They are independently owned gaming news outlets. They are like some former Kotaku staff. They're awesome. Go support them if you can. So this guy, Calvin Robinson, who was a priest of the Anglican Catholic Church, was at a pro-life rally, and at the end of the speech that he was making, decided to do the what conservatives are now rebranding as the Elon Musk salute, which, is the "my heart goes out to you" followed by a Nazi salute, which got a knowing chuckle from the crowd. And then after this guy, Calvin Robinson, turns out also technically owned the video game news publication God is a Geek, which when you hear it sounds very much like a kind of Christian focused video game website, which if you go and actually look up the content of the site, it turns out is actually pretty standard games writing, not so much of an agenda as you would think. But it turns out this guy founded and worked at that site in the late 2000s into the early 2010s, left the site, sold it to new owners, but then was sold the site back and was technically the owner, but wasn't really involved in the day-to-day, but was still technically owning the site. And after he pulled this stunt at the pro-life rally, the entire staff of God is a Geek decided to walk. They decided to quit. And when they did so, put out this statement reading, "We have run the site independently of Calvin for years now in the hopes that we would not have to lose the hard work we have poured into it, the access we have worked hard for, and the relationships we have developed. However, it has become increasingly clear that we can no longer separate the site from its owner. As a result, the entire editorial team will be stepping down with immediate effect. We will create a new site, and our future content will be published there, bereft of any connection to Calvin Robinson. It will be hard to start again, hard to walk away from the work we've done here off our own backs, but this is the right thing to do." Good on them, good. They really, standing on their morals. It's got to be a really hard decision to give up a, established reader base and build something again from the ground up. That's a tough decision to make in anything. But hopefully, this story kind of blew up. So hopefully, maybe some people that weren't even aware of God is a Geek will go and, try and find the new thing that they end up starting. God is a Geek, by the way, you would often see that title on trailers of games. You would see it as oh, God is Geek gave this game a 9 out of 10. You'd usually see it in the those kind of head quotes there. Hopefully we'll be seeing that again, but with whatever they end up going to next. But also the comic justice of this all is that after Calvin Robinson pulled that stunt, it turns out the Anglican Catholic Church revoked his license, so he is no longer a priest under that church, with the Anglican Catholic Church saying, "While we cannot say what was in Mr. Robinson's heart when he did this, his action appears to have been an attempt to curry favor with certain elements of the American political right by provoking its opposition. Mr. Robinson has been warned that online trolling and other such actions, whether in service of the left or right, are incompatible with a priestly vocation and was told to desist. Clearly, he has not, and as such, his license to this church has been revoked. He is no longer serving as a priest in the ACC." Make stupid decisions, get stupid consequences. But hopefully out of all of this unfortunateness, the former staff of God is a Geek will move on and, make something new. And hopefully they're successful in that. Speaking of people moving on to new things, Marvel Snap Dev says it has a new publisher to ensure TikTok shutdown never happens again. Second Dinner says it's bringing almost all responsibilities in-house. The developer of Marvel Snap says it's enlisted the help of a new publisher to make its TikTok-related shutdown doesn't happen again. And they have... So if you remember, during the whole TikTok ban situation, Marvel Snap was also banned and delisted for a hot second there. Actually longer than TikTok, which was unfortunate. Marvel Snap, the Second Dinner really had to scramble to try and make the service available again. But since then, have distanced themselves from ByteDance and their publishing label Newverse, and are now teamed up with a new publisher, Skystone Games. And they released a statement saying, "Thank you for your incredible support and patience during the recent outage in the United States. Now that we're available for download on mobile app stores again, we are excited to share some news about the future of Marvel Snap. To ensure this never happens again, and with the help of our current publisher, Newverse, we've already signed agreements and started the work to bring almost all operational and publishing responsibilities in-house at Second Dinner with support from a new US-based publisher, Skystone Games. This has been a full team effort between Second Dinner, Newverse, Skystone, and Marvel. Thank you again for all your support. We're excited for what's ahead for Marvel Snap." And also, I think it's already happened, but players have been compensated with big offering packs of like currency and stuff. I don't know. I'll have to talk to didn't get all of it Fatal 4 co-hosts Paul and Cody, because they are still playing this game. So I'm sure they know about those details, but I will double check with them. But thankfully, the Second Dinner seems like they really know what's going on. They seem like they are able to get things done, and I'm glad that they're able to take more ownership over their services. Moving on, it seems like there is a trend this week of older games getting re-releases. First off was the Sims 1 and 2 were re-released on Steam with all expansions this week. So it was the 25th anniversary of The Sims, and in celebration of that, EA re-released The Sims 1 and 2. And I think this was originally met with a lot of excitement from fans of The Sims. After those releases hit Steam, it seemed like they were getting mixed reviews, which is not a good sign on Steam. It seems like most people's issues with the re-releases is that they are just straight up re-releases. It seems like EA has not done anything to the games to like update them at all for current hardware. I think the Sims 1 launches in like 640 by 480, which looks like garbage on modern monitors. And there's been reports of like people of the game crashing out when you try to tab out. Some people not even getting past the like make a family option, like a starting option in the game. So I don't know. Maybe they'll try to patch them. But maybe hopefully it's worth it to EA. But also I think there has been a spike in people re-downloading The Sims 4 because people are just like, well, there's this. Sims 4 is a Sims game that works and is, technically free to play. So I don't know. Hopefully the Sims fans are doing okay. But who is doing okay is fans of Dino Crisis, because the original PC ports of Dino Crisis 1 and 2 are now on Good Old Games, GOG, with modern improvements, which offer new rendering options and current controller support. So this is just another example of, Capcom being good to their older IP. And hopefully this means that this is them kind of gauging interest for a potential new Dino Crisis game. Because the people who are fans of Dino Crisis have been so eagerly waiting anything new for Dino Crisis. I remember when Exoprimal came out a few years ago, that like team-based multiplayer shooter where you like the big wormholes open up and a flood of dinosaurs comes pouring out and you shoot all the dinosaurs. When that trailer first debuted, people were like, oh my god, it's new Dino Crisis, but it turns out it was not new Dino Crisis. It was a new IP that kind of looked like sci-fi Dino Crisis. Again, hopefully this is Capcom kind of feeling, putting out those feelers. But the other cool thing about this is that with the launch of these re-releases of Dino Crisis 1 and 2, Good Old Games has also started a new program called the Good Old Games Preservation Program, which is a thing where users are able to list games, like older games that are not available on the service, or as games that aren't available on modern hardware, and they're able to vote and get audience feedback on what games that they would like to see, and it's a ranked list of games that fans would like to see. So that's kind of a database showing what people would want to get modern re-releases. So that's very cool. Hopefully, companies are paying attention to that, and we'll see more cool re-releases like this. And onto the future of gaming, Jeff Keighley has announced the plans for this year's Summer Games Fest. The show will take place on June 6th and will be their annual showcase of games featuring multiple publishers and developers. We usually, this is the kind of stand-in for E3 these days. I feel like Summer Games Fest, it doesn't always hit. There's always a handful of trailers in the big presentation that you go oh, why is this thing here? But then there will be a big game and you go, oh, okay, here we go. So Summer Game, I still looked forward to Summer Games Fest the way that I would look forward to E3. I'm probably still gonna attempt to take this day off so that I can just stay at home and watch press conferences all day. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully that'll be a day where I can actually live stream reactions to that. That's something I've always wanted to do with this show. So we'll see if I can do that. That'll maybe be fun. Speaking of people doing showcases, PlayStation is reportedly prepping a February State of Play for Valentine's Week. The next Sony live stream could take place this month, and they are going to be showing off, some potential new games. The State of Plays tend to be kind of smaller, bite-sized chunks of upcoming titles, but sometimes there's some decently big stuff in there. Last year we saw them reveal Stellar Blade and Rise of the Ronin, and then we got looks at stuff like Death Stranding 2 and Silent Hill. So there, we could see some bigger things. For this year, Sony is publishing Death Stranding 2 and Ghost of Yotei, and we still haven't heard any details on the Marvel's Wolverine game. That doesn't have a release date yet, but I bet we might see some details on that. Maybe the other Marvel game. What was that? The World War II focused one with Captain America and Black Panther. Could see some details on those, as well as I think they still have. They canceled a bunch of games as service, but I think they still have Fair Games on the dock for that. So they still got that in the hopper. Still someone's working on that game. So maybe we'll see that, but that'll be exciting. Everyone get excited for Love Week. PlayStation is going to love you with some, looks at some new games. And I am going to end off this news section here by telling you that a life-size 5-foot Pokemon Gardevoir plush is going to be on sale next week. That's all I have to say about that. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I will tell you about some of the games I've been playing this week. And we're back, folks. And let me tell ya, your boy has been gaming. I've been able to put in a nice amount of hours this past week into playing some video games. I beat another video game, keeping up a nice pace. Hopefully that I can, keep that up for the remainder or the rest of this, whole year. We're just a month in. But I went ahead and finished Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. I wasn't sure if I was going to last week, but I ended up just kept playing that game, kept chipping away at it. It's a really easy game to put down and pick up because the story in that game is so dumb. Like the story in that game is just a video game story, which that whole game is just a video game. There's demons. You fight a big werewolf. You go to an ice level. You go through some sewers. You go to the jungle. It's all just very video game stuff. But I ended up, liking it a lot. I wouldn't say it's definitely not going to, make, any kind of game of the year lists by the end of the year, I don't think. But I still ended up, liking it enough, having a good time with it. And I think so I played last week on the show, and I was talking about I played Ninja Gaiden 1, and that game just kicked my ass. I think the thing that is a lot more approachable about Ninja Gaiden 2 is that the health is a lot more manageable, because in Ninja Gaiden 1, you have a certain amount of health, and when you take damage, that damage just sticks, and the only way that you can make that health back is by using health items. But in Ninja Gaiden 2, every time you use a save point, you get full health. And also when you take damage, after you take care of all the enemies in an encounter, your health regenerates, but your max health goes down every time you take hits. So you're able to make back a decent amount of your health. Not all of it. Eventually, there were some instances where my max health was reduced to half by the time I got to another save point, and then that refills you everything back to maximum. But that's just so much more manageable than Ninja Gaiden 1. I got stuck where I ended up dropping Ninja Gaiden 1 because I had less than half health, no health items, and I was right outside a boss, and that was enough for me to go, you know what? I can put this down. But yeah, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. I never played the original Ninja Gaiden 2, so I don't really know I couldn't tell you what the big significant changes are with the Black update. But the action set pieces in it are super big spectacles. Ryu at one point fights a bunch of ninjas on a big sky fortress and blows a bunch of stuff up, and then gets on a motorcycle and jumps out of the giant sky fortress as it's exploding onto the side of a snowy mountain. So just fun, ridiculous action movie stuff like that. I feel like it maybe dragged a little bit towards the end. There was a big boss rush, and I kind of don't love the boss fights in this game. They some of them are big spectacles, but I feel like a lot of them were just slice into this guy and hope that you get an opening to do some stun damage to stun lock them a little bit, and then just kind of dart around avoiding their attacks as much as you can, and then just go back in and try and get as many hits in. It didn't feel I never felt like I was doing it the way they wanted me to, maybe. I felt like a lot of those fights were just kind of desperate, I'll just get enough hits in, hope my health doesn't drop to 0, and then I would eventually just get a little 2-hit combo on them, and then it would cut to a cutscene of them going, oh no, I'm dying, and what was happening in the cutscene never felt the final blow in the fight never felt as climactic as what that cutscene made it feel like it was supposed to. But all the bosses are fun, dumb video game bosses. It's still it's fun. It's fun to witness. So yeah, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. It's on Game Pass. If you're, looking for a, character action game, it's definitely one of those, and it's a good one of those. So definitely check that out if you haven't. A game now. Okay, this next game, hot new release, came out just this past weekend, I believe Friday, and this one I do think has the potential to be on my Game of the Year list for 2025 because the previous game was on my personal Game of the Year list for, I believe it was 2023. Citizen Sleeper 2, Skyward Vector. And this game, it's just more Citizen Sleeper, and I love it. For people who don't know Citizen Sleeper, it is a narrative-focused RPG, very much a like tabletop RPG kind of system, and more less like Dungeons and Dragons and more like kind of like smaller press indie RPGs where it's all like D6 based, 6-sided dice mechanics. But Citizen Sleeper is the original and this one is a game where you take the form of a robot person, an android called a sleeper, which the narrative conceit is that you are... So a person sells their body essentially to a big corporation where they get put into a state of stasis, like cryosleep kind of. And then your consciousness gets copied into a robot, and that robot gets sent away to do labor for the big company. And those robots are what's called a sleeper because your original body and consciousness are unconscious and are sleeping in a long sleep. Your character has escaped from the big corporation and are now on the run, trying to survive as you have bounty hunters after you, the corporations after you. In the original game, the way that the corporations would keep the sleepers underfoot was that the organics of the sleeper bodies would degenerate over time, and you needed an injection called stabilizer that would help reconstitute your body. And that was the big hook in Citizen Sleeper 1 was that you were constantly on a timer of I need to go do odd jobs in this new colony I found myself in so I can get enough money so that I can buy more stabilizers so that I don't degenerate and die. But in Citizen Sleeper 2, the narrative conceit is that in between the events of Citizen Sleeper 1 and Citizen Sleeper 2, you have found a way to kind of reboot your system so that you no longer need the stabilizer. It's kind of helped reconstitute your entire system, but the reboot process goes bad and you end up getting amnesia. So the kind of companion character you found yourself with, you have no memory of, and they seem pretty bummed about it. But in the original game, it all took place on one big space station. Now you are on a smaller spacecraft, but you are able to kind of build up a crew and go on the run from whatever bounty hunters are after you. So I have not gotten too far in the game. I've it's not you're not controlling a character in a first person or third person perspective. It's all kind of top down, clicking on locations, and a lot of the action kind of happens in the theater of the mind. But the writing in Citizen Sleeper is just so good and so sharp. Just the way that they describe scenes is so vivid. And the characters that they introduce are so fleshed out and you can just like immediately tell what their whole deal is within the first few moments of meeting them. And then the game mechanics themselves is that it's all D6 based, and you start each day with a set of dice, and some have a higher probability of rolling high, and some have a higher probability of rolling low. And you have like different skills depending on what class of sleeper that you pick. You can be an engineer, you can be a scrapper, or you can be like basically like someone who's good with computers, a hacker kind of. And those give you all like different skills. Like you can be good with machines, you can be good with like software interfaces. You can be good at having like a high constitution, so you can deal with like more physical altercations. But there are pros and cons to each class, and those will also determine what kind of situations you can attempt to try and do, and like those will also affect the probabilities of your dice rolls. So you're trying to maximize the dice rolls that you have, because you only get depending on how much energy you have each day, which you can mitigate by going and eating food, which you have to have money to buy. You can get a certain amount of dice. I think the maximum amount is 6. So you can do like 6 actions per day. And then once you run out of actions, you have to go rest and let the day cycle. And then you go out and do it again. But the game is it's so focused on like cultivating a community and making tough decisions, because it is a game about survival and ticking clocks. But my favorite thing, and I'm very confident that this game will have it too. My favorite thing about Citizen Sleeper is that you can try and do what you want to do and have positive outcomes, but sooner or later you will run into situations where you will have negative outcomes. And the game, has bad stuff happen to you, but is smart enough with its narrative that even when you are in a failing position, the game still rewards you with very cool and interesting consequences for those failures. That I never find myself super downtrodden or upset about those situations. I can be sad narratively for my character, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh yeah, this is really cool. This is a super interesting choice to do with this. And the game, at least in Citizen Sleeper 1, there were multiple endings you could have for your character, depending on kind of when you wanted to stop playing. You could hit the right option, then it would just roll credits. But then you can go back in and say oh, that one didn't happen, and then go for other endings. It's very user friendly like that. So very excited to play more Citizen Sleeper 2. I will hopefully maybe be playing majority of that into next week. But another hot new release I got to play was Eternal Strands, which I believe is from a bunch of former BioWare devs, I want to say. And it is a fantasy game with a lot of monster hunting. And the real hook of it is that it has a really unique magic system, where it's all elemental based. You can shoot fire and ice, and when you're fighting the monsters, the ice actually sticks to the ground, so you can make them immobilized because their arm is physically stuck to the ground. You can sneak up behind them and climb on their back and start wailing on them with a sword. And the fire and ice interacts with each other, so the fire will melt the ice, or the ice will put out the fire, vice versa. Then there's gravity mechanics where you pull and push objects with it, and all that stuff is interesting and neat. The part where I kind of lose interest in the game is that the setting is kind of just very, at least in art style, is very generic fantasy trappings, which I need personally a little more juice with my settings for that. Like the lore of the world is interesting. Like the world building they have set up is kind of cool, but just like the aesthetic of it is not really my cup of tea. It's a game, and also the kind of the boss fights are cool, but the in-between fights with some of the grunt enemies, the impacts of like your sword swings just do not feel like they have a lot of weight behind them. So that combat is just not that interesting to me either. It's a game that I can see the cool ideas in it, but it's just not connecting with me. I might give it another shot, but I am like not so excited to get back into it. And it's been getting like pretty decent reviews. I've been seeing a lot of 7s and 8s. But I have Citizen Sleeper 2 to play, so I might not. I don't know. There's another game I'm much more interested in playing right now. So we'll see if I come back to it, but I don't have high hopes that I will. And then weirdly enough, another game that I've been playing is Metroid Samus Returns. So my for this past Christmas, my in-laws got me a copy of Metroid Dread for the Switch, which I hadn't. That game just like snuck past me when it came out because I love Metroid, but I just somehow didn't get my hands on that one. And then I was wanting to play it, but then it occurred to me that I also never played the game that came out before that, Metroid Samus Returns, which was the first Metroid game made by Mercury Steam, the developer. And I think that I heard that that's kind of where a lot of the ideas from that game transfer into Metroid Dread. So I wanted to try and play that first. So I booted up my 3DS and gave that a whirl. And boy, Metroid is fun. Boy, Metroid is good. Even like, I playing numerous other indie Metroidvanias. Like last year, I played Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, and Nine Souls, and all sorts of stuff like that. Like I like Metroidvanias, but there's just something about original Metroid and the stuff that Mercury Steam does in this that kind of sets it apart from other Metroid games. I think are some really cool and interesting decisions. They introduced a like melee counter system where like enemies will do a flash and come in for like a quick attack on you. But you hit I believe on Nintendo buttons, it's the X button, the top face button. You hit that, and Samus does like basically an uppercut and smacks the enemy away, and it like auto locks onto them. So you just like slam on the fire button, and it just like shoots a bunch of space bullets into them, plasma energy, I guess, whatever you have equipped. So that's really satisfying. There's a mechanic for the morph ball called the spider ball, which kind of lets you climb on walls, any wall surface with the morph ball, which seems broken at first, but you quickly learn that they designed a lot of stuff to kind of make it so that you can't go absolutely everywhere you want, just like climbing all the walls and ceilings and stuff. There's like some slick surfaces that you can't quite get a grip on. There's also a really smart mechanic, I think, is there's a new scanning system, which, Metroid is not new to scanning. That's like one of the like biggest features in the original Metroid Prime games is scanning, like first person stuff and getting like log entries. But the scanning in Metroid Samus Returns is you hit the A button and it just sends out a little like sonar, like bloop bloop, and it automatically maps out some of the area on the map for you, so you can kind of like reveal like, oh, there's a hidden cache of missiles here, or oh, this block is breakable, so you should like try using a morph ball bomb over here. And you can't like just spam that. You have a certain amount of energy that you can expend to do those scans. But I just think that's a really smart thing to do, because that's where I end up getting tripped up in Metroidvanias, is going like, I don't know where to go. I don't know, like I don't feel like just like smashing all these walls with whatever attacks to determine whether or not this is where I'm supposed to go, and I just can't tell where it is. So having an option to just like, okay, just tell me where to go is really helpful, especially as an adult who has a limited amount of time to play games. That is a lifesaver. So Metroid Samus Returns, I'm liking it. I think that I will also spend a decent, a big chunk of my time in the next coming weeks playing that. And then hopefully I'll move on to Metroid Dread as soon as I'm done with that. But that's really all the video games I've been playing this week. Why don't we take another quick break, and then I will get the whole gang in here, the rest of the Fatal Four, and we will give you the lowdown on WWE 2K25. See you in a sec. And we're back with the third segment of the show. That's right, it's time for the Strafe Shuffle. And this week, I thought that we would talk about some wrestling video games. But for a first time on the main feed here, I thought I'd bring some friends with me. That's right, folks. I have the Fatal Four themselves from the Didn't Get All of It wrestling podcast on this here network. I have Paul Griffin.
I'm just here to pick up some miso listeners because I've seen the numbers, and that's a popular episode.
Yeah, it turns out when Hatsune Miku joins Fortnite, people get real excited when they hear about it. I also have B-Rob.
Yo.
We also have Cody Carlson.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. Am I actually on the show?
Yeah, you're
Or is
here.
this like, oh wow, okay. I wasn't sure if this was like one of those things where, when you give like your little cousin the controller that's not actually plugged in and just let him pretend like he's playing with you.
Oh, right. Yeah, or like you're playing Super Mario Galaxy and your cousin is just looking at the screen to pick up all the little jujubes or whatever. The star bits. Yeah. Well, I thought I'd have you guys on here to help me talk about the new WWE video game coming out soon.
They got a new one this year?
2K25. Yeah, I feel like they have a new one every year. And you guys have played a lot more wrestling video games than I have, so I thought you guys would be able to speak to this a lot better than I could. But they revealed a whole bunch of details about this here video game, which we talked about the reveal of on this past week's episode of Monday Night Raw, which you can hear us talk about on the most recent episode of the Didn't Get All of It podcast. But they showed off the covers. They got the main cover with Roman Reigns. They got the Dead Man edition with the Undertaker, and they got the Bloodline edition with Roman and the family tree. All his family's coming out of the Ulafala.
Why did we get a Dead Man edition and not like a People's Champ edition?
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. They've done so many Undertaker like special editions and pre-order bonuses over the past decade. Like, enough.
He must appeal to the lapsed fan more than anybody else. Like, they must have some data to back that up.
Probably. But I would have thought for sure CM Punk would have been a shoo-in for something here. If not the main cover, then like,
maybe next year.
A best in the world edition or something,
Don't like no games.
Got Paul Heyman there. That's Punk adjacent.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't really care about the covers. I'm curious. Have they announced what comes in them though?
Yes, it is all right here on your screen.
Screen?
Yeah.
That's just Roman Reigns.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me scroll down. You got the standard edition here, which if you pre-order, you get the freaking Wyatt 6.
Hello.
That seems dumb.
Yeah,
Why
why
because
are they
it's the Wyatt 6? They're on the company. Why are they pre-order?
But look, also you get WWE 2K24 standard edition as well.
I already have that.
Yeah,
well, it's not for you, Paul.
Also, like,
stand.
hear me out. Do you get the downloadable content from 2K24, which is also Uncle Howdy?
I don't think you do.
So
Why would
what I
I
don't
want
understand,
24 when I have 25?
It says here that you get the Wyatt 6-pack, which is My Faction Persona cards of Uncle Howdy, Dexter Loomis, Nikki Cross, Joe Gacy, and Eric Rohn. Does that mean it's only for the My Faction mode and you can't use them in other modes? Or are they already
you
in the
can.
game for other modes?
Yeah, the majority of the people that you get into my faction, you can play with them in the regular game too.
A
It
lot
was
of
always
times you
my
have to
understanding
like
that you couldn't.
you have to circumvent that by going to like created content that people have like hacked around.
Mhm.
They ran into a big issue with 24 because the top creators kept creating stuff that was like
Better?
game breaking. Yeah, it was awesome. They were making like really cool ECW arenas with like the perch that you could climb on, and they all got banned really quickly. And it's like these are the people that keep your game alive because you won't. And they all eventually got unbanned, but it was really, really weird and toxic for them to just start moderating. It didn't stop them from removing like the random uploads of porn and all the Chris Benoit stuff that's in there. But anyone making something cool that people liked, they got in trouble.
Also, like I guess this is a feature here. Is not, it's going to be exclusive to the whole thing. I think they're going to do like what the basketball games do, where you have the park, and it's like an environment that you can have your created character or a character that you choose to kind of roam around and interact with other people that are online and stuff.
How does that work? I've never done that.
Yeah.
Like, is it just like Habbo Hotel?
No, well, like how it is in the NBA games is like it's pretty much like a meeting place wherever you meet up to play against each other online and shit. From what I understand, I never really play it, but this is going to be kind of similar to that.
Yeah, so this year they have the Island, which they're saying is their open world mode for WWE 2K, which has, it says like NBA The City is an open world social multiplayer space where players can take on challenges, compete in live events, and more, all starring their custom My Superstar characters.
Yeah, this is another way that they get money out of the game, especially like NBA 2K. There's a lot of microtransactions. It's fucking clothes, shoes, all kinds of stupid stuff like that. Emotes, Fortnite style, if you're into Fortnite as well. So this is just another avenue to generate cash from this game.
But here's the thing. Are the servers going to actually fucking work? Because the 2K24 servers were complete shit. Anytime I tried to play with my friends online and use any sort of created content, created superstar or whatever, the game would crash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's horrible.
Cannot
like
compute. Cody doesn't have friends. Crashing.
Yeah,
I don't know why the console started talking. That was really weird.
Yeah, and that was kind of a thing for me. Like I've been playing 24, 2K24 for WWE the game, because I keep saying because it's NBA, but I've been playing that recently, and the only thing that I've been doing constantly after I beat the freaking GM mode, which I love the GM mode since they added it, but after I beat that, I've been playing my faction, and the only thing that I do every single day is log in to get my card bonuses. That's all I do. I'll start it up, log in, get my card packs for the day, then I log out. Or every week they do the tower events. So you have like 5 matches you can complete, and you can get different bonus items. You can get cards, you can get a VC.
But then you don't do anything with that.
I do. I stack them up and I get other cards and stuff.
This is why I deleted the Pokemon game from my phone.
Yeah.
So the Deadman edition includes my faction card for Old Undertaker. It includes toy version of the Undertaker.
Those
usable
are cool.
Urn. You can hit somebody with an urn.
Wait, hold on. Old version of Undertaker meaning like
1990.
Undertaker. Okay.
Currently or
right? Yeah, like old as elderly or
fat Undertaker on a motorcycle. Get off the bike.
Blue thin line shirt.
Yeah. Brother Love Manager and Undertaker mask for Island. And then it also comes with Season Pass, which gives you 5 post-launch DLC character packs, which will probably take all year to make.
Yeah.
The Supercharger, which allows you to skip doing anything to unlock stuff. And then the rest of the Wyatt 6 crap.
Yeah, everything that you get in the standard edition pre-order.
And then Bloodline has toy Roman Reigns, toy Jey Uso, and then Island cosmetics of hoodie, shirt, Yeet tank top, Yeet sunglasses. And then this is criminal. The WrestleMania 41 pack isn't free. It's tied behind this. Ooh. So you get the WrestleMania 41 stage and then persona cards for whoever the main event people are, as well as a new playable superstar TBA. Man, they're going to put Penta right here.
Maybe.
Wasn't that what they did last year with the 40 years of WrestleMania? Wasn't that locked up behind like the deluxe edition?
No, they put the 40 out like two months later.
Oh, like
but
and it was just DLC. Free, I think. Yeah.
They'll do the same thing. It's always the same. They get the money up front.
You also get Nation of Domination Rock, and then everything that we talked about from the other editions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is what I was talking about. Cody was making the point about, tag teams just being in the Rumble is taking up a waste of space. I was like, Jey Uso is a tag team player, and he got his own like little joint here in the freaking bonus pack. I mean, I know that's not, it's not just proving your point or anything, but it's just like, it's kind of cool in a way to see a tag team player like Jey Uso to get kind of like spotlighted in a way.
Sure. I mean, he is the most over guy they have. So they should. So you're doing a Bloodline showcase mode, which...
Yeah, the Bloodlines Dynasty.
Plus, so they explained like what that is, which is, if you've played the showcase mode before, it is replay these matches and hit all these things. It's very much a chore. It looks like that's the only way you can unlock stuff is playing the showcase mode. And every year showcase mode has been do this match the same way it's always happened. Mm-hmm. And then a cutscene will happen and now you have to fight from the ground up. So they always knock you down. It looks like this year they've changed it where you don't have to have the exact same outcome and you can play differently and change history, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, what was that one year where they had, was it Cena, to where like all the matches that he lost, he went back and tried to win them all or some shit like that?
That sounds familiar. And then at the end you fought him, but he was invisible.
They had some shit like that.
And then they also have experienced dream matches. So it looks like they're making stuff up. So at least they're trying to make showcase mode a little less dull. Mm. Then they've added intergender wrestling, which will make the problematic people online very happy. They have an image of Nia Jax and Randy Orton here because those are the last two people who have done that.
And that'll be fun for mix and matching because you can do that for the Rumble matches too, right? Just have like a Rumble match featuring the entire roster, not just the men's and women's roster.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
that'd be neat, I guess. I'm not one of those people that was clamoring for beating up women in my games, but that definitely appeals to a certain gamer.
Yeah.
And apparently chain wrestling is back. I don't remember that ever being part of the games.
Isn't that a mechanic?
Yeah. And then the underground match and bloodline rules match type, as well as jumping off barricades. That is now back.
Yeah, so the special thing about the Bloodlines rules match is apparently that it looks like it allows up to 6 run-ins per match, 3 per side. That's like the special thing about it.
It's kind of funny.
And it says run-ins can be performed like a finisher by filling a meter and then spending the earned credit like you're popping an ult in a MOBA.
I like that. This tells me a couple things. As far as like advancements they've made, if one of the callouts is you can jump off barricade, is something they're like, you can do this. That should just be something you like turn the game on. You're like, oh, look what this neat thing is you can do. That tells me this is all they've added.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I've played 24 quite a lot. And the last game I think I played before that might have been maybe, because I know it wasn't 20, because 20 was the cursed year. And I don't think I played anything after that. So I think probably 18 or 19, whatever one that AJ Styles was on the cover of, it was the last one that I played. And there has been noticeable, like, just quality of life differences between the gameplay between those two games. and it's just like the buttons seem a little bit crisper. It's just little small details, because I can remember when they first switched over to the 2K brand, or they was getting ready to be that way, to where they started numbering them. I remember them doing like the YouTube reveals. They had the whole show dedicated to the reveals and the features and stuff. And it was just like little small things, like animations that they didn't have in the game before, to like, if your character stands there idle for a while, they'll like, rotate their wrists, or just, do different muscle motions and all kinds of things like that. So it's definitely like those little small things that kind of add up. You probably wouldn't notice them if you played year to year, but like if you step away for a while, then you come back, it's noticeably a different game.
They've also added more players to My GM. You can now do 4 players.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool.
The universe mode, which is their sandbox story mode, has brought promos back, which seems to be a little more tolerable than last time. The previous time this was in the game, it was like a timer, and you had to like put promos together based on some pre-written scripts. It was really painful. This looks to be a little easier, and new cutscenes, new branching choices. My Rise, which is the other story mode of create your superstar and run through a bunch of chores. Apparently that is now intergender, and you're going to work storylines with Bailey and Kevin Owens infiltrating NXT in an attempt to control the entire WWE universe. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's happening there. And they do say that there's 300 playable roster characters. Over 300 playable. That seems way more than the last time, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
And is that including or not including DLC?
Yeah. Doesn't say. And then finally, the last bit on what you can expect. This is my favorite thing that they've put here. Arenas. Travel up the card while you travel the world. WWE 2K25 gives you access to many popular rings from your favorite WWE events. That's not a feature. They have that every year. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't say anything in the pictures from SmackDown. So, like, sure. I guess that's there.
Yeah.
Place your bets now if you get Raw 2001. I guarantee you this will not be in the game. Anyway, I'm looking forward to buying it and playing it for 2 weeks.
That seems to be the general use case.
But that's the thing. That's been the thing with. But the thing with me is like, I'll get it day one, and I'll play it, and I'll put it away, and then when the life cycle is about to end or whatever, that's when I play it hardcore. Everything, because like it was just like how you were saying before. I'll probably go in at the standard edition, and probably about time I get really interested in hyped up to play it. All the shit that they were selling up front for a premium price, I done got it for discount or free. So, I mean, that's kind of how I roll with it or whatever, especially since I'm collecting all the wrestling games. I'm not in a rush to buy this shit, right up front. I'm waiting for it to catch it on sale for like $20 or $30 or some shit like that. So, I'm going to play it, but just not right away, maybe.
It does seem like we're getting a bunch of, like you said, Paul, we're getting 300 characters. A bunch of new faces. I mean, have already been revealed.
Oh, yeah. A lot of the NXT roster on this one.
Like, of course, the whole new bloodline, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, Ethan Page, Obafemi, Lola Vice, Kalani Jordan. They've all been confirmed. Mm-hmm. So that's exciting, at least.
Yeah, there's new people to play with, so that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then aside from this particular video game, did you guys see the announcement that they made on Thursday about the mobile game that they're doing as well?
CM Punk announced the Netflix mobile game.
Yeah.
What is up with that?
Right now, it's just called WWE 2K, and that it's being offered exclusively through Netflix. Which I don't know if you guys know this, but if you log into your Netflix account, like on your phone, there's games on there. There's games on that Netflix.
You got games on your phone?
You got games on your phone. You
a
can play Point
game, obviously.
You can play Point P, which is a fun little.
Excuse me.
It's Netflix's Point P. It's a fun little jumpy puzzly game. But yeah, there's games that you download through the Netflix app onto your phone, and they're going to be doing that with this WWE 2K game, which apparently the last time that they put out, because they're saying that this is supposed to be kind of comparable with this game, with like the main game that they're putting out. And the last time they did this was like 15 years ago. They put out an iOS game based on WWE SmackDown versus Raw 2010. Where the gameplay was like, it was like basic gameplay that was like kind of like the console version, but not really. Yeah. So what I'm wondering is, because phones are much more powerful now than they were in 2010, and like they put like all of Resident Evil 4 remake on phones. And that's like a contemporary game. So I'm wondering, does this mean that they will be offering like the whole game, or maybe like a compromised version of it for phones?
So like 2K specifically, they do this every year for the NBA games. So you can play like the console version, and then they'll have the mobile equivalent out every year. It's pretty much the same thing. And from what I've played from the mobile versions, I mean, it's just a pared down of the real, because I don't think you can play like full on, season stuff or whatever or anything like that.
But it's like a more streamlined version of it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like shorter play sessions, I guess, like something that you could kind of dabble with it while you're waiting in line for something.
It probably won't have all the game modes, but it'll have a good, the basic stuff, single player attack, one-on-one tag team. I doubt if they throw the Rumble or something in there, because that'll probably eat up a lot of shit. But to your point, I mean, phones are more powerful now. I don't play too many more games on my phone other than like, Wrestling Empire. But yeah, right. It should work out.
Well, that'll be interesting. I wonder, because what I want from WWE games on my phone is, remember what was that, like Rise of the Immortals or whatever?
Oh yeah.
The one that was like Mortal Kombat but with John Cena.
Yeah, I do remember that. And then they also had like the mobile version of WWE All-Stars, which is like perfect for fucking phone gaming.
Yeah.
And that game was just fun in general. They should just like bring that back. They tried to with Battlefield or Battlegrounds or whatever, and that shit was garbage.
But I guess if they want you playing a WWE game on your phone, they probably want you playing Supercard. Guess.
True.
So you spend money on cards.
Mm-hmm. Which you can also do in 2K.
Yeah, you're right. But this is good synergy with the whole Netflix thing. And Netflix, like, good Lord, they need help with letting people know that people can access video games through their app, because I feel like they don't do a very good job.
They don't talk about it. I forgot about it.
That. Yeah. There's like whole ass games on there. You can play Into the Breach, Oxenfree, Rise of the Golden Idol. That came out like 2 years ago. There's like recent good games on there that people don't know that they just have access to for having a Netflix account. So it's all there if you want to play it. But yeah, I guess that's all we have to talk about with the new video game, unless there's anything else you guys have to say about it.
I thought all the stuff they announced that we didn't talk about at the Royal Rumble was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be.
We'll talk more about that.
Stuff sure was crazy.
We'll talk more about that. I didn't get all of it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys, and thank you, listener, for listening to another episode of Squared Circle Strafe. Leave us a nice review on Apple Podcasts if you like the show. You can follow me on Blue Sky at Oozing Neon. If you want to catch more of me talking about some real nerdy stuff, and us talking about some real nerdy stuff, you can follow the Didn't Get All of It podcast to hear me and the rest of the Fatal 4 hosts talk about the latest and greatest in professional wrestling. You can also sign up for our Patreon to get exclusive access to our Discord, as well as bonus content and the satisfaction of supporting independent podcasting media. Head to patreon.com/Fatal4Pod. That's Fatal FOUR Pod. Thank you again for listening, and as always, enjoy your gaming.
You've been listening to a Fatal 4 podcast. Subscribe today wherever you get your podcasts and visit fatal4pod.com for more episodes, merchandise, and info on the Patreon.